Welcome to Stealership Stories, where we're sifting through your glove box looking for your girlfriend's nudes. What up, dude? Sometimes. Most of the times. Podcast number 1. Here we go.
Episode 1.
I am Lou.
I'm Ralph.
We are ex and current dealership employees. We have stories that span way back beyond the years. And we've always talked about if we wrote a book, it would be the most interesting book you've ever read. So what's the next best thing besides a book?
Talking about it.
So we've had plenty of interesting characters over the years, interesting scenarios, things that the general public doesn't need to know, but we want them to know.
Interesting stuff. Been doing it for a long time.
Way too long. I've got about 25 years in myself, only about 20 at the dealership, but I've been working on cars and around people for a long, long time.
I've been at the dealership for 13 years, mostly as service. Few months in sales there at the beginning. Did you ever sell cars?
I sold one car as a technician. I was bored, so I walked up front to the sales office, and a guy I knew as a customer happened to ask me about something. And before you know it, we were on a road test, and he walked away with that car that afternoon. And I did not get the commission for that.
That happens a lot. We, fortunately, at our dealership recently, they've started doing pretty decent kickbacks for passing stuff up front. So try to do a little more now than before. But, I think being at a dealership for a long time, you'll eventually be kind of the go-to guy anyway, that they ask for questions and your opinion basically on new stuff coming out, which I think makes it hard on us because we don't always learn about the stuff right away too. You know, sometimes it's a few months or years even before the stuff gets back in the shop and we start learning about it. So
absolutely. But because you've been there the longest and a familiar face, you're the smartest guy in the world and you should know everything.
Get all the questions. Definitely.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So why are we doing the podcast again is because we've got these stories and we've got to tell them. We can't bottle them up anymore. They're hilarious. None of them are heartfelt. Everything is just shit that you wouldn't believe really happens. And when we tell these stories as individuals, you kind of feel like people are judging you like, yeah, you're just making that up. So maybe if we put it into a podcast form and we have someone to back up the story, that gives it that much more meat. We've got so much stuff that will blow minds as to things that happen behind closed doors in the dealership, or even the independent workshop. I've worked in parts stores. As a service advisor, I've done a couple different things myself. So just the all-around experience you get just really opens your mind up to not only the kinds of people that are out there, but the scenarios that you encounter.
Definitely. All kinds of crazy stuff that we run across on day-to-day basis. And I don't think people quite realize, just like any profession, what really goes on behind closed doors. Most of it's, the forward-facing customer interface type stuff. And I mean, that's 95% of our job, but the fun stuff that happens behind, or the stuff that we put on people, or the things that we take away from conversations or experiences are always different than the people that from the outside. So we think it's interesting stuff, and I'm sure you guys will think some of it's interesting too.
You call a dealership or a shop. You call a shop. I don't want to blame the dealerships all the time, but you call a shop and you say, my car is broke, I got to get it in. And what do they tell you? Well, it'll be 2 weeks. And so you make an appointment, you get it there, and before you know it, they're still calling you saying, well, it'll be a couple more hours or another day before we can get to it. You just can't judge how long a car is going to take to fix. And an appointment really doesn't mean anything nowadays. It just means that we know that the car's coming and we'll figure it out when it gets here.
Yeah.
From the outside looking in, you like any job, you go to a profession and you expect things to go A through Z, no hiccups, no big deal. But at your job, what happens and things that go awry, and you wish the customer understood that part. Well, that's what we want you to understand too, is that from the dealership aspect or even the automotive aspect, there's so much gray area with everything that goes on. It's just it'll blow your mind that you just don't bring a car in, look at it, say it needs that, walk 10 feet, pick up the part, walk 10 more feet, put it on, and the car goes home.
And it's fixed.
Yeah. For good, forever.
There's so many moving parts and pieces in the background that especially service writers, I think, probably have to deal with maybe a little bit more, just because we're the in between the client, you've got management over you. In a dealership, where most of our experience comes from is, you got the manufacturer that's holding you to CSI, which is a big deal. I'm sure we'll talk about that at some point too. And, and customer expectations, and especially
absolutely.
with Highline brands.
Absolutely.
It's a whole different playing field.
I spent $28,000 on this car.
Mm-hmm.
It better not break ever.
Right. Yeah.
$128,000, $228,000, doesn't matter. A car's a car.
Right.
They're all made by parts in China, and they all break at one point or another.
They will break. It will happen. It's a guarantee. You're going to have to visit the shop sometime. So I think this will be good for people to know, and just hopefully entertaining for people to listen to, and just get an idea of what happens behind the scene. A little bit more than what you just normally experience coming in, walking in, calling in, to a dealership, to a shop, to any place on getting your car fixed. And a lot of this stuff too, I'm sure they deal with the same type of situations and problems at, iPhone repair shops, or any place that does any type of repair, is trying to get a client taken care of, and everything that moves in the background to get to that final point.
Basically, anything
delivery.
that's related to service industry.
Yeah.
Service.
Yeah.
Anything that has to do with fixing stuff or repairs or
Right.
just physical changing of whatever they bring you.
Bringing something in one condition and expecting it to leave in another better condition than it arrived.
Correct.
Is more challenging a lot of times than I think people anticipate or think about. But
Well, like that time that I changed the oil and the guy's wiper motor went out.
yeah.
Right? It's my fault.
Right.
I touched the car
Yeah,
last.
Last person that touches it.
Yeah, it's not my fault. I shouldn't have to pay for it because 12 years ago was the last time it was there, and you're the guy that looked at it.
Yeah.
So that's about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, the service advisors have it the roughest. They're front line. They get it from the management, the manufacturers, like you said, the clients, and the technicians and the parts guys. You're getting it from all fronts. The technicians are always at fault because they're the guys that are working on the car. So they're the ones that are expected to, what are you doing standing there? Let's get this done.
Yep.
You've been standing there for 10 seconds. I noticed you took a breath. What's going on? Why?
Right.
What do you mean you want a lunch?
Yep.
It's Tuesday. We got cars that need done.
Yep.
So.
And that's the pressure that gets passed down, and unfortunately that's just the way that the system works is, we all have bosses, and unfortunately some of us have more than others.
So one of the goals of the podcast in my mind is not only to share the experiences that we've had, but me being an ex-dealer tech of so many years, I always think that the dealership is the best place to go. Those are the most knowledgeable, up-to-date guys on the technology. You've got the manufacturer backing if something goes wrong, as to where if you brought it to a Midas and something broke, they'd just tell you, sorry, take it to the dealer. They just wash their hands of it. When you get to the manufacturer, you really can't wash your hands of it because we've got the manufacturer that kind of kicks us in the pants and say, hey, we got this guy breathing down our neck. You got to fix it. You got to do something about it. We'll send you help if needed.
The last stop. And we appreciate the people, too, that come in and do all the service with us. And we have a history. And it makes it a lot easier on us, too, knowing the background of the car and, their habits and service and upkeep of the car. And everybody's a little bit different. Some people only bring it to a dealership for warranty repairs. And, from the inside looking out, that's hard for us to swallow because, just like any other job, it's where we make our living. So the warranty jobs, as I don't know if people know, but they aren't as lucrative as customer pay work. So that's one thing that's if you bring it to us for, even if it's just oil changes and tire rotations, basic stuff, we have a relationship already with you, and that makes the whole process easier just because of the relationship built, but also just knowing the condition of the car and some of the history of it and anything else weird. I think too, some of the hardest challenges are when another shop has told them what needs to be done, or someone else is involved with it before you get it. My buddy fixes cars and he's been working on it and he told me it needs this and
that's
this
just
is what I wanted to do.
That's just when they tell you.
Yeah.
What about the times the cars come in and you spend 3 days on it and then they go, oh yeah, by the way, it rained before this happened.
I replaced this, and this.
Or it came from the body shop.
Yeah. And
absolutely.
I've done all these steps beforehand, just like anything else in this realm, the more information we can get up front, the better. Just to get back to you a little bit, did you start you were up in Chicagoland area when you first started.
Born and raised in Chicago, in actual Chicago, not in one of the outside suburbs, which most will say.
Right.
Started out not wanting to deal with cars at all. Had a gentleman that lent or asked me for help here and there. And as I would help him, he'd kind of teach me about what I was doing. And before you knew it, I was helping him fix stuff. And then soon after, I was fixing stuff for him, or instead of him, not really for him, but instead of him. And, fell into school, whizzed through school, and got into the Mercedes program and farmed out to Michigan, lived out there for almost 2 years, and it was just not the good place to be for a 21-year-old in a boring town of Rochester Hills, Michigan. But moved back to Chicago, a couple of years there, and then down to Peoria. And that's where I've been since probably about 15 years now, and made a good career working on cars. And in the meantime, I've also worked AutoZone part-time, so I've got to deal with those awesome people and clientele and those POS parts that they push. And just so you know, if you went to AutoZone and they recommended a gas cap, you probably don't need it. I just want to throw that out there right now. And if they didn't recommend a gas cap, you also don't need that oxygen sensor they recommended too.
Stage 2.
Stage 2, yeah.
That could be potentially.
And for backup, you might have got a faulty oxygen sensor, so let's tell you another one, right? Okay. Yeah. So let's just get that out of the way right now.
And that's potentially where a lot of that bad advice had come from. Unless AutoZone intends to sponsor us someday, and we'll
change our minds.
Retroactively edit that out.
Right.
But no, you do get a lot of crazy information out there, and especially now with the internet being as in the forefront of people's minds as much as possible. And I get it. I mean, I think it's a natural reaction to want to Google your problem and see what the majority of the time the repair is. And a lot of times it does get you down the right path. And fortunately, mechanical things tend to fail in the same, you see the same trends over and over again. So a lot of times you will get good information, but it's just not the end all be all. And
it's not 100% reliable. It's good to get an idea as to what could be happening. And if you're smart enough, you can figure out what's crap information and what's, sometimes you find some good stuff on the internet and it's thorough and somebody took the time to do it because there's nobody else that's doing it for that subject.
Yeah.
And in that case, it may be helpful, but it doesn't mean it pertains to your issue or your car.
Right.
So before we go down that road of the forums and the internet, I want to back up to what you had said about building a relationship with the client. I bet that almost everyone that listens to this does not have a relationship with a repair shop, let alone a dealership. They've got somebody they know that attempts to fix their car here and there.
Yeah.
Or they do their own work, which, is fine. That's fine. But if the only car you see every day is your car, you become in tune and you don't hear the stuff that the rattles and the knocks and the noises that I would hear because you've been there since the noise started. So it progresses, and as it progresses, you just adapt to that car, and you don't realize what's happening. But then you get someone like myself in there who's been in the car world for 25 years, and I drive it, and I go, how are you still alive? This thing feels like the wheel's about to fall off. And you'd be like, well, it never made that noise before. Well, it did, but you've driven the car for 10 years, so you become tuned to it. So another goal of mine is to help you understand that the dealership is not the enemy. Your repair shop is not the enemy. Not all of them are good, but not all of them are bad. There's a lot of good people out there. I've worked with a lot of good people out there that really care about doing a good job and building a rapport in a relationship, which is something that you just don't have nowadays. Being on the outside where I don't work at the dealer and I have to bring my car somewhere to get fixed, it scares me because I know that the guy I'm talking to doesn't give me the time of day. He just wants to get it done so he can move on to the next one. Yeah. So, we're going to help you understand how to pick a good shop or dealership, how to build a relationship with a mechanic. I've done something that probably made me the most successful at what I did was I met every single customer whose car I worked on. I made it a point to go up there and meet them and talk to them because I wanted them to know who was working on their car. And in that instance, I was the only guy who was busy year round, summer to winter to Christmas to to holidays, it doesn't matter. I was the one guy who was always working because I always had somebody asking for me. Or, if they walked up front and Ralph wasn't there, the next question is, where's Lou? I want to talk to Lou. If he ain't here, I'll wait till he comes back. And that's great. Good luck finding that relationship. You've got like a diamond in the rough. It's they're out there, but we're going to try to teach you how to find those guys, or how to interview them, so to say, with a couple questions, and then you'll find out if they're the right fit for you, because not everybody is the right fit for the right shop.
And it makes a huge difference just in the whole repair process. Not only having the trust of, the person that's working on, most of the time it's your second largest investment. You've got your home and the people that work on it. And then you've got your car. I mean, for the most part, there's only going to be the one shop. You may have a glass shop that does windshields, or, certain specialty type repairs that are done outside of a dealership or a automotive repair facility. But, for the most part, you're going to be coming to that shop over and over again, even if it's for little things. That's one thing that I've always tried to impress on people, even if it's something small, a tire pressure light or a coolant light, or, something that's easy for me to take care of quickly in the drive. Just bring it in, little stuff like that, especially with the clientele that we're accustomed to dealing with, or more high-end clients. And
well, even that's rare, because you hear people saying, I deal with people online, and they say, I called my shop and they want me to wait 2 weeks for a light bulb.
Sure.
It's not good customer service.
Right. Or charge some fee for doing things that are just easy. I try to keep fluids and as much like little things up in my desk as possible on the service drive, so I can get them in and out quickly. As clientele, gets up in the ownership levels of various brands, whether it be, Mercedes, Porsche, Audi, Jaguar, all the kind of premium luxury brands, time ends up being more valuable to them than money. So being able to get that quick service and somebody they can rely on usually makes a big difference, and it becomes a lifelong almost friendship. I have people I would consider friends that are clients of mine.
Well, the sad part is that when you do whiz a car in and you take care of a light bulb real quick, or just top up some oil and let them go, you're actually going against the dealership, because they want you to write up a repair order.
Yeah,
they want you to charge that court, because that's lost sales. But that $8 that they pay for that oil is kind of kicked back a millionfold over in the customer relationship that you have with them, because you took care of them, and it wasn't about the money, it was about the service.
Yeah.
And that's just something that is rare to find nowadays at all.
Right.
So,
and from an employee standpoint, it's obviously up to your management, and different people have different management styles, and I think you and I both over the years have worked for just about every different manager style and personality that I can think of. So you obviously use and work with at your own discretion, but taking care of those smaller things, even if you have to pick up a quart of or a case of oil, that stuff, it's money out of your pocket, but it'll pay off in the long run huge. And just those relationships, not only make the trust and the relationship stronger, but it in the end it'll pay off dividends. It'll be huge.
Absolutely.
It's a really big thing.
But so not only can we teach the car owners or advise them on how to find the right place, we can also assist you service people out there in how to be, more proactive in building a clientele. Don't call them a customer, call them a client. There's a difference there. When you start recognizing people by names and faces, that means something. I would walk up to the service drive, and if I noticed somebody was sitting in a chair and their face was upset, I don't care if I was working on their car or not. I'd go ask them, hey, what's going on? Is there a problem? Because anybody that was angry at that dealership, I took it personally, because that could affect me down the road. So let's abolish whatever problem they may have. And sometimes you just want to be heard. That's the majority of the time. We'll say 99% of the time, you have a concern and you just want someone to listen. Once you vent and they listen, that's the biggest hurdle right there. The other small percentage is just fixing the problem.
Yeah, but once someone is able to let their feelings be known and kind of get that chance, like you said, to vent and really kind of make clear what their intentions or what their expectations are. I mean, that just the whole write-up process, and we'll get into a little deeper in,
we're going deep.
Yeah, we'll get deep eventually, but, part of the whole write-up process and just being a good employee, service writer, technician is listening and asking follow-up questions. And I think, a big part of the ability that I've had and that you've had to succeed over the years is that's just not, unfortunately, common anymore. People just get stuck in their own ways and don't want to put any effort into it. And it's kind of a strange field. You don't see a lot of people pushing for people to get into it, but if you make the effort and stand out, I mean, you can be super successful and really see the results of your changes and input and little small things that really add up at the end of the day and at the end of the month and the end of the year. When you get what we're all there for from the employee side of it is, earning a living to support ourselves and support our family. So it's out there. It's just, I think this is kind of our goal, is just talk about it a little more and kind of let people on the inside know. But you've got sons. What do you think about them going into the automotive field?
It's something that I'd advise against. It worked for me for a long time. Unfortunately, it took me about 5 to 7 years to really get a grasp as to what I had to do to be successful. If I'd have done it over, I would have just jumped right into my own shop and fought through it, because after about 10 years of anything you do, you finally either master your category or you master the way of bullcrapping your way through it. Yeah. and everyone wonders how you made it this far.
Yeah, both methods work for some people, but, at a certain point, you kind of reach the plateau of bullshit, so to speak. But, yeah, it's a field, and I hope we are able to get a little bit deeper into it over the time. This is kind of just an introduction of what you can expect to hear us talk about, and just some different things and subjects we'll go over. But yeah, all good points from both sides of it, and hopefully we can cover as much as possible, because outside of work, we've all had to take whatever in to get repaired, whether
Absolutely.
It's your washer, dryer, something wrong in the house that we can't figure out, and like I said, phones, different things like that have a similar kind of setup and experience. And I know from just taking our vehicles in to get specialty work done that we weren't able to do in the shop, exhaust work, it's weird, it's strange being on the outside looking in. You want to say I've taken a turn in my mind over the years to I know how it is, right? Mm-hmm. That term, I know how it is. You don't know how it is, because I've worked at different shops and I've worked at different stores or retail outlets, and what happens in one place does not happen in the other. So there is no such thing as I know how it is and how it should go down. That's not the case. So my theory became, well, not theory, but my practice was I would go to, we'll say, the Dodge dealership, because I have a couple of Dodges now. And when they were under warranty, I try to meet with the advisor and tell them, listen, I'm an automotive technician. I've worked on these cars for, Mercedes-Benz for so long. I know whatever there is to know about stuff, and I got no problem learning more stuff or whatever. But I am not going to be that customer that tells you what to do with my car. Right. I'm going to drop it off broken. I'm going to pick it up fixed. I don't give a crap what happens in between. Right. The wheel could fall off and you scratch it up. You put a new one on. I never knew. Don't care. If I get it back and it's fixed, I don't care what happened in between. Right. Because being in the dealership world, I know the little things that can happen that I don't want to be concerned with that, right? I don't care. I got extra cars to drive. I don't need a rental. The only thing I want you to do, just keep me informed as to what's happening, so I know, because I'm very technical. So I want to know what you fixed, how you came to that conclusion, and just, do I got to be concerned with it in the future? Yeah. And that was really hard for him to understand, because even just me telling him that, I think it put him off, and it made it hard to deal with the guy, which was not my goal. My goal was to make it easier, to say, listen, do what you need to do. I am not going to bother you. Still didn't get a call back on time. Yeah. Then when I finally called back, it's been done for an hour or two. Well, yeah. Okay. I'm not in a hurry to call, but
it's been 3 days.
Right. Yeah.
All you had to do was keep me informed as to what was going on.
Could have let me know.
So,
and I think that's what makes some of the, people stand out above others. I mean, that guy, I don't know his situation or whatever was going on in his life that day, but, something simple like that, especially when it was obviously a fairly straightforward repair if it was there for a couple of days, including parts being ordered and whatnot. But, that could have made you a lifelong customer of his, or, someone you'd go in and ask for, instead of like, oh, there's a guy that, kind of blew me off last time, so instead of him being your go-to guy at the dealer, or when someone says, hey, I got a Dodge with a problem, where should I take it? That could be your guy to send people to.
Absolutely.
Who knows what each, interaction is going to turn into. You never know. And, we appreciate everyone that comes in as being polite and treating us, and, hopefully the same way we treat them. We do definitely understand it's not a good situation. No one wants their car to be broken. Most people rely on that car as their primary means of income, transportation, getting back and forth to work, and it's not comfortable being without it, or relying on someone else to, take care of your baby.
There's another thing I figured out since we're talking about that. People get frustrated because they have to put money into the car, right? I believe that part of it is their financial decisions, right, on the car. So they don't realize how much the repairs cost and that kind of thing. They didn't do their due diligence, and the salesman didn't, be proactive and explain to them what to expect, which would have taken care of a huge part of that. The other part of that is when it comes to a dent or a ding or a scratch, they got no problem fixing it because they see it.
Right.
When it comes to fixing something under the hood, they don't see it. So where's the dollar amount in that?
Yeah.
Why do I get it? Why do I need this thing? The car still made it to Walmart. Why? Why do I have to fix this?
I can get back and forth to work, and that's all I care about. A few extra bucks in my account. But at the end of the day, like I said, it just all kind of boils down to trust and relationships. And there's a lot of good information the car comes with. It'll tell you when things are due, and I mean it is a good idea to follow that. The manufacturers don't put that information there.
They didn't just
have that,
make it up,
right? For we've seen over the years people too. Well, I changed my oil this mileage. Okay, well, either you're wasting money on changing it way too early, or you're potentially ruining your engine that's,
but not
many
the guy,
thousands of dollars.
Not the guy who uses jet engine oil.
Yeah.
That guy had it figured out.
That story at some point.
Jet engine oil. Why would I want to use regular oil? Mercedes don't know what they're talking about. I will use fighter jet engine oil.
Turbine oil in my GLK is a great idea.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If you want to waste $20,000 of your own hard-earned dollars.
That was a good one. That was a good one.
We'll get more into that. We've got
lots and lots of war stories from
this is just episode 1, just touching. We're not even touching the surface. We're overhead view Google mapping this stuff that we're gonna intertwine your brains with. We've got let's run down our list of stuff. We've got ways to creep on chicks in the customers.
Dealerships and shops tend to be heavy on the male side.
Heavy, what's the term they call sausage fest, what have you, right? So
there is a lot of that going around.
When the female species arise, or comes into view, it work kind of ceases for a few minutes. Air tools kind of stop working, and things can kind of get crazy there. But we'll break into story time. Oh man, the stories that we've got, right? So
good stuff.
Just stuff that makes you just how do they make it this far in life and not kill themselves? B, who's their parents so I can slap them because they brought them up this way?
Yeah.
Just the things people say.
And we'll give you guys an email address too that you can write in stories to us, or questions or comments or ideas or anything. We're game, open to listen. Hopefully at some point we'll be able to be big enough to take phone calls or interview people or what have you. But
we want guests.
Yeah.
We want emails.
I know there's a lot of you out there that have been doing it for even longer than we have.
We want texts. We want customers, advisors, parts guys.
We'd like to see it from all sides.
Shuttle drivers? How about the shuttle drivers?
Shuttle drivers.
Oh, yeah. You want to talk about creepos. Shuttle drivers, they take the cake. We're going to give you a tech tip. How about that? We'll actually give you some useful information that may help you or help somebody out there that may have an issue. what people, a lot, most of my friends know, but I answer car questions online. I also have a site called Tech Connect. You can reach it at www.cartechconnect.com. Ask a question. I fix everything from how does my light turn off to this shop charged me this much for this. Do you think it's right? There's just so much things that happen out there in the world, in the automotive world, that there's misinformation out there. And you search a forum or a website, and Ralph will say, hey, my 1992 Mercedes is having this issue, and then the next guy will comment, well, yeah, my 1905 single wheel horse carriage had the same issue as this.
Like, what I did to fix it.
What in the world makes you think those two even matter? So,
right. And it's good to have a knowledgeable input. Even if you think you've got it figured out, or like you said, you've already been to the dealership and they've given you their opinion. It's nice sometimes just to have an experienced person to give you their input on it too. Someone that's
absolutely
been down that road, and it may be worth a few bucks of your time to just get a question answered, or just even some advice, or just have them look over a proposal, a quote, an estimate on what they do to repair. And sometimes there's things I'm sure you've seen, replace the accessory belt while you're doing a tensioner pulley, or whatever sort of parts should also be replaced while you're doing a certain job. I think for the most part that stuff's pretty well covered, but it might not hurt to see someone that has experience with doing that repair, giving you their input on if that seems to be a good choice for you. And anything.
Absolutely.
Mostly Mercedes. I think we've had the most experience with Mercedes, but a lot of mechanical things are pretty similar. Systems are similar.
Oh, absolutely. And the Euro people all do it the same. The Asian people all do it the same. The American car manufacturers all do it the same with minor tweaks. And after working on a car brand like that over the years, everything else is child's play. When you work on a car like Mercedes, and Lamborghinis be more expensive, or Bentley or whatever, but Bentley's just a Volkswagen, and not to discount the technology, but Mercedes leads the way in a lot of stuff. BMW does too. But the amount of experience I've had in Mercedes alone has helped me think way outside the box on the easier cars. And sometimes it ruins my brain, because I'm like, why is it so easy? Why isn't it more complicated? What do they do? But me myself, I believe I had a great fix the first time rate at the dealership. But even myself, there's times I would come to a result and I would there's no way it can be this, even though everything leads me to that. So I would yell consult, and my Porsche buddy would come over, and I'd say, here's my problem. I'd walk away, and then I'd wait for him to tell me what he found. And 9 times out of 10, he'd come away with the same conclusion. So nobody knows everything. I definitely do not. I'm extremely thorough in what I do. And the one question I ask myself is, if I do fix or replace this and I still have the same problem, what would I do next? And that's the next step I do before I even replace anything, because as long as you cover all bases, that worked for me. And I just want to throw that out there, because I don't think I've ever felt cocky or conceited about being a good tech. I just want to take care of the customer, and the moment I shifted my focus from making a buck to taking care of the customer, that's the moment that I became successful. Is want to take care of the individual. And Ralph knows I'd run up front like a little girl, yelling, screaming, why is this guy working on that Mercedes? I know that customer, and that should be my customer. And dude, calm down. It's just a light bulb. But it was something that I was passionate about.
It is. It's a passion, and especially if you care that much about your clients, and maybe that guy's not the right guy for the job. Above and beyond the hours, or your paycheck at the end of the day, you may know that the guy in that shop's not the right person to be diagnosing that check engine light, or trying to figure out that difficult to diagnose repair. But we're just hopefully giving a lot of information to the customer side of things and on building good relationships with your dealership or repair facility or your service writer, whoever your interfacing person is there, and then on the dealership and tech side, some fun stuff, and talking about a profession that we all know and love and deal with.
And a love-hate relationship, so to say.
With, our job.
Absolutely. But, we're going to explain, why some dealers suck, what probably their main drive is. We're going to talk about warranties and the whole phrase, well, that should be warranty. Yeah, we're gonna dive into that, folks. All right, because a huge amount of listeners, I'm going to bet, to buy probably used, not even new, just used. And when you do, the salesman is either going to sneak in a warranty that you have no idea, because they're going to tell you ahead of time, oh, it comes with a warranty, and on the back end, you're going to pay $2,000 to $3,000 without knowing it. But then they're going to tell you it covers bumper to bumper.
If I could not hear one phrase for the rest of my life, it would be bumper to bumper.
But, sir, they told me it was bumper to bumper.
I hate that. Anytime I hear it, it's like rims to me. I hate the word rims. I just cannot stand it. It's a wheel and a tire. A rim is the edge, the lip of the wheel. So many people refer to their stock wheels as rims.
Well, maybe they bought just the edge of it and they wanted it installed.
There is a rim you can get in 3-piece wheels. It's the outer edge and the lip, and I understand that and I agree with that. But
so what is
it's just a weird key.
What does a rim job pay nowadays? Just out of curiosity.
Depends on how bad the damage is.
So we're giving you information on the back end of the dealer. We want to explain to you that even though your car didn't get fixed right the first time and something else got broken in the meantime,
we're all just people.
No, we're not. Even though the technician physically did it, it is not his fault.
It was out of spite.
Sometimes it's out of spite.
For declining the B service, spark plugs.
Oh, and let me explain to you, too. If you own a car and you drive like an a-hole around the dealership, that there's only one in town, odds are that the technician you just cut off will work on your fucking car, and we'll charge you extra for that.
Yeah.
We'll get into those stories too, because there have been some things that we may not be proud of that we've done in the past. But
a lot of luxury car owners like personalized plates. Those are very easy to remember.
Oh yeah, we know who you are, right? So easy with those personalized plates. So the technicians, a lot of them may not take the same approach I did, where I want to take care of the customer.
That's true.
Some may just want to take care of the car and fix the car. So, the byproduct is they're taking care of the customer, but their main goal isn't the customer. Their main goal is fixing the car right, so they don't have to do it a second time. So it's kind of the same thing, but they're also part of the goal is we get paid by what we do. So if we're not working, we're not getting paid. And every job has a dollar amount assigned to it and a time unit. So a lot of guys, first thing they want to know is how much does it pay and what do I got to do to beat that time? Those are the guys that are breaking your car and misdiagnosing because they just want to hurry up and book their 12 hours for the day and make their 60 hours in a 40-hour work week.
Yeah.
I was able to book damn near 100 hours a week, working
consistently
about Monday through Friday, maybe 10 to 12 hours a day, but that was by choice because I wanted the cars done before I left. I hated leaving a car overnight. I wanted to start the next morning fresh. So this dickwad didn't give away my work. My old yeah. But they're under the gun by what a job should pay and being efficient. So again, that kind of goes towards the dealer principle and the managers and the whole flat rate system, which we'll teach you about.
We'll get deeper into flat rate and
big time.
How that whole system
you
works.
can go to 4 different shops with a bad starter and get 4 different estimates. It could depend on how many hours that guy needs to make up that day, how many hours he doesn't need to make up that day. It could depend on the service advisor and his bonus he wants to hit,
right?
Or the dispatcher and how he dispatches work and if he's paid on that. I mean, there's all kinds of different scenarios out there, and almost none of them are right. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
If we went to the German style to where we were hourly,
right.
I believe the hourly paid guys that know what they're making week in and week out probably would have had a less stressful, easier way or easier job in just being able to focus on fixing the car instead of worrying about beating the clock. When you worry about beating the clock, that's when things go wrong, and that's when you chase a dollar amount and nothing falls into place for you.
And I think a lot of people don't understand how that system works, and what a technician pay is, and how they get paid, how jobs get paid, where that time comes from. And how that can change, like you said, too. Someone calling over the phone and getting an estimate, as opposed to someone seeing the car and knowing what's going to be involved in replacing that part.
Oh, absolutely.
If it's a 10-year-old, 250,000-mile car, chances are there's going to be some things that are going to be stuck or rounded off, or hardware missing. You've seen it all, I'm sure.
Oh, the scenarios are endless.
I'll never forget, and we'll talk about this story too, but that E-Class at W210 that got towed in with the cylinder head in the trunk.
Oh.
I mean, that was...
Car sat outside for 2 or 3 years, right? Something like that.
I mean...
And I had that thing put together in a day and a half.
Drove out of the dealership, towed in like with the cylinder head in the trunk, drove out, under its own power, and no warning lights on. Shit's fixed, good to go.
But that's probably because he used jet engine oil.
Well, could have been. But,
we're also going to give you guys some inspirational stuff. Again, we
want you to be successful.
We want the dealership lifestyle or the dealership mentality, not only internal but externally, to change. I mean, I don't think I'll ever work at a dealership again, but I do have to bring my car back to one eventually. I would think. So I would like you to be listening and to take our advice. We don't know it all, and we may not be the best, but we did pretty damn good in the small town that we're at with the clientele that we had. And let's talk about Christmas for a minute. I mean, how many other technicians had Christmas gifts on their box like I did,
right.
Or Christmas cards, or whatever it was. If Vladimir gave me some kind of a cologne spray or some
underwear,
$4 bottle of wine from Walmart, and ran out of the shop.
Random awesome stuff. Yeah. The gifts. Yeah. I mean, it's amazing, and that just goes to show what kind of relationship a technician can have. It's just not someone that is normally a customer-facing person. It's someone that you just normally would never even talk to or even interact with, but someone that's willing to go above and beyond and really wants to be successful at it will do those extra steps. And I'm sure we can get into that again further, but the payout and the result from that was amazing, especially for here where we are in Central Illinois. I mean, I don't know of any other careers that we could do that would be able to earn the kind of income we're able to earn, in fixing cars.
The goddamn stripper syndrome, I feel bad that I don't think I'll ever make that amount of money that I did there, but me personally, I've made $30,000 in the dealership and I've made $100,000, and it didn't make any difference. Sure, the money was there and I was able to pay bills,
huge.
But the actual day-to-day stuff was still...
It's a grind.
Yeah, it definitely is. You got to...
It constantly changes. The turnover at dealerships and probably even most stores. I mean, unless it's an old, single-run automotive shop that's been there for 50 years and it's a guy and his son that run it, I mean, you're going to have different people that you're going to interact with almost every time.
Well, there's been the times that a car was dropped off at 7 a.m. and they drop it off with Erica,
right.
And by the time they came back at noon, Erica was no longer there. And
Steve's the new Erica.
Steve's taking over. He's going to do the best job he can for the next 6 months.
No idea what was going on with the car, what the parts are.
But it's fixed. You're good. Yeah.
Here you are. Here's your paperwork and your keys.
Whatever your name is, I'm sure that's your car over there. We are Stealership Stories. I'm your host, Lou Palomino.
And Ralph Gonzalez.
We'll talk to you next episode. Thanks.